So for the latest on this, just want to bring you now the CEO of Vestas, Detlev Engel. He's right with me here in the studio now. Thanks very much indeed for coming in. So you had a tough year in 2010. How are you going to turn things around this year?
Well, I think the toughness from 10 actually comes from 2009, where the orders went down by 50%. And I think the good news today is when we announce our 2010 result is that orders has gone up dramatically. We actually have the biggest order intake ever of more than 8.6 billion euros. So that is, let's say, giving a lot more stability and better balance in the organization.
How difficult is it going to be for you to turn those? You had record orders, I should say, last year. Do you think you'll be converting them into record sales this year? What are the obstacles to that?
Well, actually, we expect revenues of approximately 7 billion euros in 2011, which is pretty close to the activity level in 2010. But actually, our expectations for new orders in 2011 actually exceeds our shipments. So we expect to build backlog, which again gives us a better visibility beyond 2011.
Are wind farm developers still struggling to get financing?
Well, I wouldn't say so. I think it's the financing doesn't seem to be the biggest obstacle at the moment. The biggest challenge some people are faced with is that some, especially here in Europe, some countries are holding back on the investment due to financial constraints. So I think that is a bigger challenge these days.
And according to the Global Wind Council, new wind power installations fell some 7% worldwide, particularly in the US. You must be concerned about that.
Well, if you look at the figures, obviously, again, one of the reasons why it has been a tough year in 2010. But I think the good news is if you look at the development and the handovers that Vestas have done of our turbines, we actually, looks like we have increased our market share in the world from 12 to 16% in a tough market. So I think that's at least positive, seen from Vestas' perspective, in a tough year.
And where have you managed to expand? Because interestingly, I was reading that China is actually overtaking the US as the country with the most installed wind power. That might surprise some people.
China is today by far the largest market in the world for wind, and therefore what we are focusing on at Vestas is running a global business. And therefore I would say we are managing to make up for around the world, making sure that we do well in all geographical areas, which also again means that from a risk point of view, I think we are pretty well balanced, because it is difficult right now in many parts of the world to predict what's going on.
So we're seeing wind power perhaps expanding beyond those traditional developed markets. Will you be able to grow faster than the market in the coming years? And if so, which countries do you expect to do well in?
Well, according to the Global Wind Energy Council, it looks like we have done exactly that in 2010. But for us, it's focused on everywhere. We are the world's largest in industry, and that means that we see new markets opening up, for instance, in South America and other areas. So we basically tend to go everywhere where the wind blows, and that will we keep on doing.
That's a nice way of putting it. Okay, thanks very much indeed, Detlev Engel, Chief Executive Officer of Vestas Wind Systems.